So I wanted to share some ideas on a question that comes up a lot, and is how to love yourself while you're depressed, when you're going through depression, where you're having a tough time with depression. I want to share two things that Jeff Foster shared a long time ago that I find very helpful, and then we'll see what else wants to come through. But I remember, I think someone was asking him in the audience at an event. It's a video on YouTube where he was talking about a breakup, and he was saying, for example, when someone breaks up with you, don't break up with yourself. And I really like that. Whatever you feel might have caused the depression, whether it was a breakup, whether it was someone doing something, treating you badly, if it was something like that, maybe approach it that way. If someone was mean to you, don't be mean to yourself. If someone betrayed you, if someone abandoned you, don't do that to yourself. I feel like it's a cool thing to consider, because that idea of the breakup, for example, when someone, let's say, breaks up with us or something like that happens, we tend to want to find all kinds of distractions. And in a way, we are also abandoning ourselves, which at the same time, I really want to make this point that I feel like everything that I'm going to share, everything that anyone shares, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't force yourself to achieve that or to get to that level, because that's another thing that I see a lot, is that we see spiritual teachers or people sharing things and we feel like we should always get it perfectly. It might not be the best approach for you. It might not be the best approach in general. It might not be what you need at this point. But I think it's extremely helpful for the main, maybe the main key thing that you need is compassion. I like also the idea that what Matt Kahn shares a lot, that I think it was on his first book, where he said, for example, if you're sad, you need more love, not less. If you're depressed, you need more love, not less. If you're angry, if you're frustrated, if you're disappointed, if you're any of those emotions, you need more love, not less. So that same idea of not abandoning yourself, realizing that you need you now more than ever. You need yourself now more than ever. And a second thing that Jeff Foster shared, the word depressed, he broke it down into deep rest. Depressed, deep rest. Which is not easy. I feel like, here's my experience with depression. When I was depressed in the past, I do tend to want to find things to distract me, whether that's movies. I don't really watch TV, but whether that's like movies, maybe even documentaries, maybe just YouTube videos, audiobooks, music. And of course, none of those are wrong. Of course, none of those are wrong. But sometimes I realize, and it happens to me even up to this point, that some days I realize not even like 5-10 minutes have gone by without a distraction. It's a very interesting thing to consider. No matter what I'm doing, whether if it's at work, and depending on the kind of work, of course, if it requires a lot of concentration, I'm not having anything on the background, sometimes not even music, but working out, even if I decide to go for a walk, whatever I'm doing, if I'm cleaning around the house, if I'm cooking, if I'm doing the dishes, if I'm shaving, if I'm anything, sometimes I realize that the entire time I have something on the background. I love learning. I'm a very curious person, so I might have either like an audiobook, a YouTube video, a podcast, an interview, something going on in the background. I'm just listening to that. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's something else, but I forget sometimes to slow down slow down and just breathe and relax and just be with myself. I sometimes tend to abandon myself in some ways. At the same time, like I said, it's not healthy, in my opinion, to try to obsess about it and try to get it perfectly. Because like I said, the journey itself is not easy. When you're going through depression, you're not gonna get everything right. You can't obsess about, I should be doing more inner work, or I should be loving myself more right now. I should be doing inner child healing because that's where it's coming from. I should be diving deep into what's going on. It might not be the time. It might not be the time. You might just need to either rest, kind of like that Jeff Foster idea. You might need distractions. Like sometimes it's okay to recognize, you know what, I'm just way too overwhelmed right now. I need to watch a movie. I want to invite you to not feel bad about having a distraction. And that can sound crazy for some of us, but when we allow ourselves, when we give ourselves permission to just be a human being, you don't need to be a perfect monk or spiritual master every second of your life. You're allowed to be a human being. You're allowed to be overwhelmed with emotions. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to be depressed. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're allowed to be confused. And what I've seen in my own journey is giving ourselves permission to experience all that, the crazy spectrum of emotions and feelings and thoughts and everything. The easier it gets in many ways. And of course, I can't guarantee anything, but it's a fascinating experience that I've been saying this in my videos lately. It's interesting that it's coming out for me, but the more effort I put into things, the harder it is. And the less effort I put into something, the easier it shifts and the faster it shifts. When I stop trying to be perfect, when I stop trying to meditate every single day or do qigong every single day or do this and that every single day for a very long period of time, which you might have seen a video from me talking about my 100-day gongs, like 100 days of meditation, 100 days of qigong, 100 days of whatever. I love that. There's something beautiful about it. And I like that structure. I like that slight, very, in my opinion, kind of healthy pressure, a little bit of pressure, but if it's not the end of the world if I don't do it. For me, that works. For me, that tends to work. But at times I also feel like I'm forcing it too much. So it's an interesting dance. I feel like at different stages of our lives, we go through times where we feel intuitively that we could benefit from a little more structure. And I've gone through times where I realized I would actually now benefit from less structure, as crazy as that sounds. And I still have goals and I still have desires and I still have things that I want to achieve. But at times in my life, I actually need less structure. I'm going more with the flow, getting more in tune with my intuition, getting more in tune with what I need, and not forcing myself to do things because I think that's what I need. So like I said, compassion, being gentle and kind with yourself, which at the same time, when you're depressed, might actually be harder than usual. We can tend to be, I always use the phrase, don't beat yourself up for beating yourself up. So you could use it in many different ways, but also like don't beat yourself up for feeling lazy. Maybe you do need what Jeff Foster says, you need deep rest. You're not depressed, you need deep rest. What if you give it a try? What if you say for a month, I'm going to go to bed a little earlier If you have the opportunity to wake up a little later, great. If not, that's fine, but maybe just try to go to bed earlier. Can you take a 10-minute nap in the middle of the day, or a 5-minute nap, or a 5 or 10-minute like breath work session where you relax and slow down your body? Can you also, at the same time, here's one thing that I found interesting in my life. I'm just sharing ideas as they come. I've talked a lot about the inner child. Can you find things that used to bring you joy as a child, used to bring you a lot of excitement and energy? Can you start implementing a little bit of that without, like I said, without forcing it too much? Whatever hobbies you might have. There's random things that I like doing. I love ice skating. There's things that I love. So I actually bought a basketball because sometimes I go to the court nearby and just play by myself. It's something, for whatever reason. I mean, I actually grew up playing basketball a little bit, but never professionally, but just messed around. My grandmother had a hoop in her house that she actually put there for me, and for all of us, for all her grandkids. But I was the one that I was there most often and used to the most. So playing basketball, I really enjoy that, and it could be anything. Riding a bike. The other thing that came to me when I was sharing that, the idea of singing your favorite songs. Sometimes I'm feeling like crap, might be depressed, I might be tired, I might be frustrated, overwhelmed. And I put songs that I love, that I know I love singing to, and singing them out loud like crazy. Even when I'm driving in the car, when I shower, or even just around the house or whatever. And holy crap, that works. And there's so many things behind that, which I actually might make a separate video because it's fascinating. I was looking at the benefits of the vagus nerve. If you look into the vagus nerve, if you research that, it's fascinating what it can do for our health. And for some reason, I never realized why I enjoyed singing so much. It's not singing like trying to be a professional, just singing for myself, for my own joy, not for anyone else. And I didn't know, even after years and years and years studying health at a pretty deep level, I didn't know that it actually activated activated your vagus nerve when you're singing. So that could also have benefits when you're depressed and when you're feeling not your best. So yeah, singing, you might be like drawing, painting, anything that you... there's a video I made a long time ago, even just going to the beach and making like a little sand castle. That, like, things that you used to do when you were a kid. I've made a ton of videos, and I want to keep making a lot of videos on inner child healing. And one thing that we've recognized by now is that a lot of our deepest wounds and a lot of our most challenging wounds come from our childhood. So sometimes it's interesting to recognize, am I depressed, or is my inner child going through something? Am I triggered because of something? Am I whatever it could be. I also talk about not obsessing about finding the exact origin of the wound or whatever's happening to you, because then you're just over analyzing yourself. Sometimes we turn ourselves into a little project and we dissect ourselves under a microscope, and that's not the most beneficial thing. If it feels like that's what you want to do at the time, perfect. If for whatever reason it's not resonating with you, then try many of the other things that I've shared in this video. But if you connect it to that inner child work and doing something that you used to love as a child, that brings you joy, that brings you energy, just being silly, being yourself. Sometimes I also talk about going to a playground, and you can go there to work out, and you can actually work out and turning more into play, turning more into a game, turning more into silliness and playfulness. Anything. There's so many things that watching comedy, sometimes it's one thing that I love. Like I said, this could be considered distractions, but sometimes it's just a little bump that you need to get out of that rut that you feel like you're in. If you feel like you're in that space that you can't get out of, you might just need a little something. And sometimes I use comedy because I freaking love comedy. You can have your favorite comics and just go on YouTube and find something. You can go on Netflix and there's stuff on Netflix. There's all over the place. So I think it's just recognizing that. For some reason, I was thinking of Matt Kahn again, and I love even the title of his book, Whatever Arises, love that. Fascinating book if you haven't read it. And a great guy to follow on YouTube and everywhere, Facebook. So when it comes to depression, is whatever arises, love that. You can think, I can't love the depression, and that's fine, but you can love the one who's depressed. You can love the one feeling depressed. You can go the one going through the experience of depression. I also remember Kyle Cease, something that he shared a long time ago. I forget from what kind of like institute in California or something, that they do a lot of inner work and a lot of healing, spiritual healing, I think. And he shared a concept that when you're going through something like that, is even saying out loud, I am depressed and I love that. And it's going to feel weird as hell, but one thing that I'm actually learning right now as I go through a program that I'm going is that sometimes it's an interesting thing to consider. I'm still not fully aware of what I think about this, but it's an interesting phrase. They said every change begins with a lie, because when you're saying to yourself something that right now feels like a lie, but at a deep level, it touches something deeply within you that is actually true. So sometimes it's interesting to consider those phrases that feel like a lie, but might go deeper than we realize. So that Kyle Cease thing that he says, yeah, I'm depressed and I love that. I feel like shit and I love that. I'm angry and I love that. And it might feel like a lie, but in some ways we're actually maybe being more welcoming to those emotions and stop trying to push them away. Because I think the more that we push depression away, the more, here's another cool thing that just came to me from Matt Kahn. The more that we push something away, the harder it's going to be every time that you face that emotion, which you will keep facing. That's a fascinating thing to consider. You will keep facing depression throughout life. You will have moments of depression throughout life. The more we try to push it away and force it away and just hide it, suppress it, try to alchemize it and change it into something else, the more that emotion is actually kind of controlling our lives and really affecting our lives. And the more welcoming we can be, either with that phrase from Kyle Cease or the idea from Matt Kahn, whatever arises, love that, the more that we can actually open up to that, the difference you'll have with that emotion and that experience is way different. Let me see if that thing comes back to me from Matt Kahn. I should have said it when it came to me. It's not coming to me now. But yeah, there's so many things that Matt has shared that have been incredibly helpful in my journey. Oh yeah, that with emotions, I remember now. That he talks about something that's very, very interesting, that the way that we can think about this when we're going through challenging emotions is that we came to this lifetime, right? If you want to think about your soul coming into your body in this lifetime, we're here to experience the whole spectrum of emotions, the entire spectrum of emotions. We have the ones that we love, the ones that we don't really like too much, the ones that we hate, the ones that we're neutral with, right? You can think of it as, right now, it's my turn to go through depression. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be here forever. And it could be considered as the opportunity to, you know what? I've faced depression in the past, whether it was for an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, or more. I've faced depression in the past. This might be the 27th time that I'm facing it. And now that I have this awareness, Could I approach this experience differently? Could I meet this depression differently now than I did in the past? If you can't, it's okay. No need to force it, like I said. But if you can, now I have an opportunity to face depression and welcome depression and even appreciate depression, because everything has a gift, right? We've heard this from many different teachers in all kinds of whatever, you know what I mean. All kind of paths in life and everything. Everything has a little bit of wisdom and a gift behind it. So can I even appreciate and welcome and love and approach this depression in a different way? So just recognizing, you know what, now it's my time to, so it's kind of like, I don't know, spring, summer, winter, fall. Now it's my time to go through depression right now. I'll come out of it eventually. Maybe, like I said, the less I try to force myself to come out of it, the less I try to run away from this, the easier, the faster it will evolve and shift. But it's just fascinating things to consider and open yourself up to the possibility that, you know what, it might be worth giving it a try. I never claim that anything that I say is the truth, and I feel like we always get a new level of awareness. And if you ask me this question next week, I might give you a completely different answer. And if I make the same video in a year from now, it will probably be a different answer. But based on my experience and the people that I've helped, whether it's clients or friends, family, I just wanted to make this video with all the ideas that I could think of, even though I just started with only 2 and I knew stuff was going to come. I think if you even just let this seed drop, I always say this, just let the seed drop, don't force it. I like to share things in a way that you don't need to force it. You don't need to do a ton of work. You don't need to take notes on this video and think of the next 5 steps that you need to take in your life and force yourself to do 3 specific actions every single day so that you can embody these ideas and these changes and these shifts. Just let the seed drop. You might want to come back to this video even later today, tomorrow, in a week, in a month, and just see how you receive what I shared. You might be more open to some of the ideas. You might receive these in a different way. It could be a very interesting experience to come back to this video at some point. So maybe save it somewhere and come back to this. And if you know someone that might be going through depression, I think it could be extremely helpful for them to hear this ideas and some of these different perspectives that in my videos I try to share a lot, so that maybe even 1 or 2 or whatever might click and just open up a new possibility for you. So if you know someone going through depression, please share this with them. It's not easy. It sucks when you're going through it. Sometimes we actually do look back and realize all the gifts that were in it, but as we're going through it, let's be honest, it fucking sucks. So if we can help someone by sharing this, that would mean so much. It would mean a lot. So if you know someone, please share it. If you want to go deeper, if you want to explore these topics a little deeper, then make sure you sign up for my newsletter, free newsletter, and then you can get into our private little group, free group, where I can hopefully help you even further and with very specific things that you might be going through. I hope to be able to help. So just make sure you go to my website, gonzalocorts.com, sign up for the free newsletter, and I'll see you on the inside. I hope it helped. If you watched this far, please give it a little thumbs up so that the algorithm might send this video to more people, and hopefully we can help more people. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day.